Former player and scout in the NFL, now an agent, Marc Lillibridge joins us now on the Little Caesars Hot and Ready Hotline. What up, Bridge?
Hey, Zachary, what's going on, man?
I'm good, man. Hey, I have a million things to ask you today, just all over the gamut, because there are actually some things I want to ask you from an agent standpoint and also a player standpoint. I mean, so we're going to go all over the place. So let me start with this Super Bowl matchup. Can you imagine any other loss worse than the one the Packers took?
Yeah, maybe the other two I can think about is when the Titans with the Miracle, the
Music City Miracle.
Yeah, Music City Miracle maybe, and then or when the Bills, Frank Reich, came back against the Oilers, when they were 35-3 or something like that in the third quarter. Those are the only two I can think of. I don't know how it would be. I'm down here in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, and I talked to some guys from the Packers, and there's no words. I mean, most of them just say, "What do you say?" I mean, you can't go back in time, but at the same point, there's just so many things happen that they should have won the game. I mean, they were right there. So it was an odd game, and I'm not necessarily sure that the best team won, but that's who's going to be representing the NFC in the Super Bowl.
As a Packers fan, I want to ask you, as a former player and a guy that's dealt with this in all different capacities, is it worse that they lost and it was their fault, or would it have been worse had we had another Fail Mary type of situation?
You know what? I think Josh sitting up there, one of their guards said it best. He's just like, you'd rather just get blown out than lose that close on last-minute plays. I just think it's a combination of a bunch. I mean, Russell Wilson played his worst game maybe as an NFL quarterback, and yet they somehow manages to win. And you lose the opening game 2 years ago on the Hail Mary. Anthony Jennings and Tate would go for that ball. I'd rather be in the mix at the end of the game. I think I'd rather, as a player to the fan, I think you're at least you give yourself a shot to do it, as opposed to Hail Mary. That just seems like that's just luck. So I would think that there's still some plays that could be made on both sides of the ball, but I think I think the Packers, if you're a Packer faithful, you had that game won, and you should have won the game.
See, Josh Sitton said what I told Zach, because, Mark, I'm a Packers fan, Zach's a Colts fan, and Zach said he would rather be the Packers fan on Sunday than a Colts fan, and I disagreed.
Yeah, I was a fan of both. Actually, I thought I had the Packers playing the Colts in the Super Bowl, so I guess I'm not a very good pronunciator, but I would say that I thought it was. I would rather go into it, and when you're blown out like that. I mean, as soon as Josh Cribbs muffed that punt, you kind of felt momentum, and you're just like, oh boy, here we go, and this could get out of hand. I would think I'd rather it be close. I'd rather have a shot at the end of the game and lose close than to lose it, get blown out. Because getting blown out, I mean, it wasn't even a game, and I think the Colts got to do it too.
Marc Lillibridge joins us in the Little Caesars Hot and Ready Hotline, former NFL player and scout, and now an NFL agent. He's down at the Senior Bowl. Let me ask you about some of the players that are coming out in the draft. Not necessarily seniors, but some of the players coming out in the draft. Are you Team Mariota or Team Winston?
I am definitely 100% Winston. I think Winston's going to be a star in the NFL. I think if you can get past the off-the-field stuff, which that's what teams have to do. I mean, you're going to have to do your investigation. You're going to have to dig in and figure out all this stuff. Is this a kid being a kid, or is this a guy that's a habitual offender? But I think the teams will do their research, and I think whatever team gets him, I think they're going to end up winning. I think he'll start from day one. I think they'll end up winning that year. But I think whatever franchise he goes to, he can turn it around right away.
But nothing that you are aware of, and I know you haven't. I mean, my guess is you haven't delved real deep into his past, like I know some of these teams are going to be. But nothing that you know of on the surface is anything to keep you away from Jameis Winston in terms of off the field stuff.
No, because I think if you talk to people around that team and you talk to people on that staff, even his teammates, they love him. I mean, people down there love him. And I know sometimes you put rose-colored glasses on, and you're too close to the situation, so you make excuses for people. But I've talked to people that maybe have just a fringe relationship with Florida State, and they say that this guy is fans love him, student body loves him, his teammates love him, the coaches love him. I guess he studies film religiously. He's made some dumb things. He's been a kid. He's done. He stands up and yells a phrase in a cafeteria. It's dumb. Okay, it's a kid being a kid. he's done some things, off the field, stealing the crab legs and, the assaults and things like that. I mean, there's still, again, there's more research that has to be done, and I'm not making excuses for him, but there's also, we tend not to see the positive stuff. We tend to be blinded by that because we love drama as a society. We love to rip a guy, apart and build him back up. I always call it my Britney Spears philosophy. We love to have her be a star, and then we love to watch her shave her head, and then we love her to, we go buy her records again when she makes a comeback. So, I think when it's all said and done, I think there'll be enough scrutiny on the guy, but I think he'll pass it, and I think he'll be a great player.
Former player and a scout and now NFL agent Marc Lillibridge on the Little Caesars Hot and Ready Hotline. So how much of a believer are you? Obviously not as big a believer as you are in Winston, but how much of a believer are you in Marcus Mariota at the NFL level?
I think Mariota in the right system will do well. I'm not a firm believer. I like his leadership. I think he is one of those guys. He's kind of quiet. He reminds me a little bit of Joe Flacco in that regard, where he's not a real rah-rah guy, but at the same point, he does enough where the guys rally around him. I mean, he's had success. He's one of the most successful quarterbacks, in college history. I would say that I still don't know if I'm sitting there at number 2 if I take him, but I think they'll end up being enough talent at other positions where a team could sit and say, okay, do we want, defensive lineman? Do we want offensive lineman? Do we want a corner? I do think he'll not be a top 10 pick, but I think sometimes that is also this quarterback class is not very good, and I think that'll drive the market. That'll probably push his value up a little bit because I think he'll get drafted probably a little bit higher than he should, only for the fact that there's just it's the market out there is not good for quarterbacks. So I still think he's gonna be fine. I just don't know if I could sit and tell you if he's a franchise guy right now. I don't know that. Maybe he ends up turning out to be an Aaron Rodgers type of guy, but we'll see. I think he'll be a starter. I just don't know if I think he's a day one starter.
Well, what other systems other than Chip Kelly's are you going, yeah, there's one that Mariota will flourish in immediately?
You know what? I really think a New England system. I think he's, Brady's got a great arm. Don't get me wrong. I think Mariota's got a good arm too. But I think it's one of those the systems where it's maybe it's not up the I don't know how well he would do in Arizona, like under a Bruce Arians system where he loves to go deep all the time. I think he's more of a guy that would handle like the checkdowns and doing the slants and the dig routes and things like that. I'm not saying he can't make the deep throws, but I just think it goes back to this. A guy that maybe would be a fair comparison is like Kurt Warner. I think he can fit in a system like that where it's all quick throws, get the ball to your hand quickly, and get your team on the field. And I think there's teams that run versions of that. I think everybody automatically puts it in Chip Kelly, and then the rumor comes out this week that Chip's going to do everything he can to trade up with a guy.
Right.
That's great. I mean, that's great. Those are great rumors. But you're sitting there at the same point. I think this guy could function in a lot of offenses. I just think there's certain ones that are fit guys better than other ones, and that's just I think one that's quick hitting offense he needs to play and something like that.
Hey, obviously, we're college football maniacs here in Oklahoma City. Marc Lillibridge with us, by the way, former NFL player and scout, and now an NFL agent on the Little Caesars Hot and Ready Hotline, and he's in Mobile at the Senior Bowl. Take us behind the scenes. Kind of give me the big nuggets that you've heard and seen so far at the Senior Bowl this year. What stands out? Give us some nuggets. Come on, I want nuggets. Lillibridge nuggets. Come on.
I don't know if there's a lot of nuggets out there. I think it's going to be interesting. I think this year will be an interesting free agent class because I think it's going to be, one of the things that a lot of people are talking about on here is what does Kansas City do with Tom Ali? Do they have the salary cap room to keep him? Do they cut a guy like that to keep Justin Houston and Justin Houston get the franchise tag? There's a lot of talk about where Sue ends up. Is Ndamukong Suh going back to Detroit? So it's those are the kind of things you talk about now. The college stuff is so, I love this. The Senior Bowl is fun because, it's fun in a way because you get to see a lot of guys you haven't seen over, the years or over the year. Everybody's on the road, so it's kind of come to one spot and I'll kind of catch up. But then you feel bad for like a guy like Rick Reaprish who gets fired. Why he's here? He gets fired from the New Orleans Saints, and you feel bad for guys that have lost their jobs. So it's one of those things. There's so many people. There's so many finance guys here trying to get to these college kids that do their finance. You got agents walking around everywhere. You got coaches and scouts. You can't get enough. There's not enough time in a day to talk to everybody, and then you're still trying to evaluate players. So it's a lot of these coaches they don't want the teams. Like if you're let's say as up until yesterday, you don't know what you're going to do as far as your offensive coordinator for the Ravens. And so you're like, okay, well, what kind of player does, we want to find for this guy? Well, now if you're out without a head coach or you're without offensive defense coordinator, you don't even know sometimes you don't know what defense you're running.
Right.
You're as a scout, you're looking at players saying, okay, well, yeah, I think he's a good player, but is he a 3-4 outside linebacker? Is he a 4-3 defensive end? What are we running? We don't even have a defense coordinator yet, so we don't know what we're doing. So that makes the evaluation process a little bit tough down here too.
I want to ask you one thing from an agent standpoint, and it doesn't pertain to the NFL, but I just want to know what, if anything, you would do if your player. This is what I'll give you the backdrop. In Oklahoma City, Russell Westbrook, who I'm sure you're aware of, is a with the media can be short sometimes, and doesn't like to talk to a whole lot, especially seemingly to the local media. Other than that, outside talking to the media, he is a super nice guy in the community, great guy in the community, and he's somewhat polarizing, as polarizing as a top 5 player in the NBA can be on the court as well. But he will be, for whatever reason, short with local media to the point where this past Friday night he was kind of Marshawn Lynch-ish, if you will, where it was. Although I don't think it's built out of anxiety with Russell, it's more anger. He's just like, good execution. Why did you play well tonight? Good execution. What do you think went well tonight? Good execution. And he did that for an entire interview. And then one time, one of the reporters said, "Are you mad about something?" And he said, "No, I just don't like you." If you're Russell Westbrook's agent, do you say anything about something like that, or do you just let it go?
I think I would. I think that's a fine line. I think I would probably say something. I would think that hopefully I have a good enough relationship with my clients, where I would be. I would say to them, "Hey, you need to maybe not be so short with the media," but at the same point, guys going through something. I mean, we can't get inside everybody's head.
Right.
And, we don't know what's going on with him. We don't know, like you said, if he's great with the community, he's good with kids, and he's good with, helping out people, and he's doing his thing as a civic duty, and he's being an okay human being. I think sometimes the rules are in place where, these guys, Marshawn Lynch had to pay a $100,000 fine for not talking to the media. I get it, because I know the media has a job, but at the same point, not everybody's like that. Not everybody is effervescent and wants. There are people that love to talk to the media, and then are great quotes. But then a lot of the times, even though they get forced to do it, they have to do a canned answer, or they have to do the what's the guy's name from Bull Durham? You got to give the simple answers of.
I know who you're talking about.
Lelouch.
Yes.
Yeah, I got to give it's a team game. I'm happy to be here. I'm called up and I'm just excited. I'll do everything I can to help the team. I mean, so you get those two, and so I think it's part of it too. I do some media stuff, as you know, Zach, and part of it, we love the guys that give the off the cuff answers and the honest answers, but then we'll turn right around and rip them later on because then we question it, and so I think there's a fine line there. So I would say something to them. To the point of, hey man, try to help us out, get your PR a little bit better. But at the same point, I think every situation is different. Now, if he continues to do it like that, where it becomes a major problem, then I think you have to. But I think that's somebody from the team has to address it as well.
Nuke Lelouch.
That's it. So I mean, but I would think somebody from the team would have to address it as well. Hopefully, somebody would say, hey, we need you to do a little bit better with these media. We need these people because they're helping get the message to the fans, and the fans are the ones buying the tickets.
How's business, man?
It's always good, dude. It's working. Just, hustling. I actually got a couple guys out of your neck of the woods down there. I'm actually defensive tackle James Kaplan of Oklahoma State as a client in this year's draft.
Really?
And cornerback Julian Wilson from Oklahoma.
What? You got both of those guys? Why aren't you give those guys to me? Get them on my radio station. Come on, right?
I will gladly do it. Julian will be going to the combine, so maybe we'll get him on here leading up to the combine, and then maybe before Oklahoma State's pro day, before James gets on there, we'll have him do something.
Oh, well then I didn't know that going. Yes, absolutely. And tell them that they have to be a little bit more open with me. I'm not going to get them in trouble. You know how I work. I'm not going to get them in trouble, but tell them I don't want your damn cookie cutter answers that I know you keep feeding them. I know, I know how you work. You're like, doing all the training with them. Like, just say you're happy to be. Do the Nuke LaLoosh. Just say you're happy to be there. No, don't tell them to take that filter off when you come on with me. All right.
Well, yeah, because you got Oklahoma guy, Oklahoma State guy. All they're going to do is talk trash. I mean, maybe we should get them on at the same time, and then they could just have a debate. I mean, that's what I would do. I mean,
that is beautiful.
That's where you get it going.
All right, I'm in. All right, buddy. Good talking to you. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate it too. Thanks, guys.
All right, buddy. Marc Lillibridge, former NFL player and scout, now NFL agent. He's got Castleman and Wilson, and Julian Wilson. How about that?